Welcome. We are a family of teenagers joining a movement of God through Portland and spreading to the ends of the earth. We believe that the Spirit of God is breaking out and working through us to bring the love of Jesus to a world in darkness. And we are all welcome on this journey. Peace.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another session unpacking our vision here at A Jesus Youth. My name is Keithan, and I'm here with
Shelby.
as you know, and we believe that clear vision is crucial to following Jesus well, especially as a teenager and especially in this cultural moment. And so we are a family joining a movement of God and encountering his presence every step of the way. Last week, we dove headfirst into family, and this week we're going to be discussing what it means to join a move of God in our city and around the world. So Shelby's going to take it from here.
Yeah, from a young age, we're influenced to think in terms of story. We read books, we watch movies. They usually begin with an engaging once upon a time, and they tell the tale of a princess trapped in a tower, of an emperor who finds his groove, and of a mighty warrior who finds a strength beyond his own to rescue a people out of the villain's grip and restore peace to the city. Stories are powerful, and there's something in all of us that's drawn to finding ourselves in a story and belonging to a story that will live on long after we're gone. In 2019 alone, the global box office revenue reported $42.2 billion US dollars in ticket sales. We love stories. In fact, our brains are biologically hardwired to think in stories. Researcher Brené Brown, she points out that storytelling, it helps us impose order into the chaos. And that includes the emotional chaos of our lives. So when we're in pain, we create a narrative to help us make sense of it. For example, when Susie gives me a mean look. Susie, she's not real. I feel like I need to say that.
but she gave you a mean look.
But she gave me a mean look.
Yeah.
And my brain doesn't just see that mean look and say oh man, Susie gave me a mean look. Instead, I see the mean look and I start to make a story about it. And it's usually something like, I know she never liked me. Or, gosh, Susie is so mean and so rude. The next time she tries to talk to me, I'm definitely going to pretend like I don't see her. Well, that escalated quickly. And I feel like, again, I need to say Susie's not a real person in my life. But basically, all that to say that we are neurobiologically hardwired to make sense of our hurt and to make sense of our pain and to come up with a story that makes sense of that. And when we do that, our brain chemically rewards us for that story, whether or not it's even accurate.
Wow. So, Shelby, let me ask you this question. Growing up, did you have a favorite movie?
Definitely.
What was it?
Mulan.
Mulan? Sweet. So in the Disney vein, this is going to be hella embarrassing, but my favorite movie growing up was Peter Pan.
Oh.
From the time I was 3 years old to 5, I thought that I was Peter Pan.
Did you wear the tights and all that?
Like the tights, the sword, the hat, the everything.
Nice.
I thought that my backyard was Neverland. And
Oh.
have you ever asked yourself, what story am I a part of? Like when you're a little kid and you think that you're in the story. I think we all carry that question on into being a teenager and into adulthood. We all want to find a good story to exist in. And when we find that story, we want to know, which character am I in this? Am I the hero who saves the day? Am I someone in the background or someone in between? So what do you think when you hear that? Like, what is our role as we figure out our story?
Yeah, I think some of us hear that and we start to think well, what difference does it make whose story I'm in? At the end of the day, most of us just want the broken and the unsuccessful parts of our stories to be fixed. But this question, it's actually crucial. Understanding the story that we're a part of and what role we play has the capacity to impact how we live our whole lives. The Bible itself is a collection of books that tells one unified story, and this story invites us to see ourselves as a part of God's story. That means that this life I'm living is not one that I alone am authoring. It's God's story that we've been invited into. And the story of God, it's never been at risk. Every year, the Bible continues to find itself at the top of the bestsellers list. This story is unique and powerful because it introduces us and it invites us into relationship with the one true God, which opens us up to experience life to the full.
Wow.
And this doesn't mean that we don't play an important role, because we do. the story of God, it's important to know that it includes personal scenes.
Hmm.
So our lives, they're to serve a scene in the overarching redemptive story of God. When we start to wrap our hearts and minds around this reality, we stop asking questions like, how do I make a mark on the
Hmm.
world with my life? And we start asking a better question, something like, how is my life embellishing or giving flesh and blood to the Word of God?
Hmm.
In this story, God is the hero.
That's right.
When we think that we're the hero of our own story, you start to constantly feel like you're not enough.
Yeah.
Your failures start to overwhelm you, and at worst, you start to act like someone you're not. And I hate feeling that way. And I've found that it's when I start to see and live like God is the hero of my story that my life actually starts to have an impact that's way bigger than just me.
Right.
And this is what it means to be a part of a movement.
Oh, so good. Well, like we said last week, there should be a difference between the movements that we're a part of and kind of the movements that we see in the world if we follow Jesus. So when you hear this word movement, you hear it everywhere today. There are cultural, political, societal movements, and they're springing up every day, building on the ones that came before. These could be amazing movements, like the civil rights movement in the 60s, which we forget was led by pastors and faith leaders on the front lines of creating racial equity in marginalized communities. The disability rights movement in the 1970s, which created a more accessible world to those with a disability. In 2020, we saw a movement across our country to continue to reform and repair relationships between law enforcement and communities of color. Today, movements are all over the place. It could look like a petition to sign, or a cause to donate to, or even a fashion trend, or a new TikTok dance to learn. Movements are everywhere. But all movements have one thing in common. They connect you to something way bigger than yourself. Every movement capitalizes on the massive impact that can be made when people come together under a common cause or effort.
So let me make sure I'm tracking with you.
Sure.
When you're talking about movements that we're a part of, is it just like one among many? Like, a choose your own adventure situation? Like, do I just find one that fits my personality, my preferences, kind of like the clothes I choose to wear each day, or like the stuff I choose to post to my stories? Is it like that?
Sure. I could see where you would get that. Like, in Jesus, we don't just join one good movement among many different options. The scriptures actually invite us to see God's mission to heal the world as the ultimate cultural, societal movement in the universe. And the good fruit of many social justice movements will be an overflow of God's redemption in the earth, where marginalized people are honored, the oppressed are set free, there's equality and peace and hope. And all of these have their root in a biblical worldview and will be byproducts of God's global movement. And sometimes they line up when we see things in culture and society, and sometimes they don't. So we need to link our movement in with this larger movement of God. It's the biggest one. Revelation chapter 21 is this picture where we get to see the end of the story, and heaven and earth are made new. God's space and our space are now one and the same. And I love this line. It says that God will wipe away every tear from your eyes. There will be no more death, mourning, crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. And because of Jesus, we know that the future of the world is so good. God so loved this place that he gave his son. Our sins are forgiven, meaning that we have life in the age to come. But we follow Jesus not only for life in the age to come, but to experience full life here and now. Jesus taught his apprentices to pray like this: God's kingdom come and his will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So every day we want to wake up eager to participate in this remaking of the world with God. And every single one of us is needed in this movement, from the 6th grade gamer to the senior cheerleader, from the janitor at a fast food restaurant to the CEO of a company. Everyone is valuable. And we can each use our impact to join this global movement of God, bringing his life into every space that you enter. So, to answer your question, this isn't just one movement among many. This is the ultimate movement in the human story. And Jesus is the loving king that we follow.
That's so helpful. So, just to be clear, when we say that we're a part of the movement of God, this means that as part of this movement, we don't treat him like some cool sidekick to our lives and our dreams. We seek to put him at the center of our lives. Instead of becoming angry or bitter towards our world in this movement, we lay down our lives and we sacrificially love those around us.
Yeah.
As part of this movement, each person plays a vital role in building his kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. As part of this movement, we have hope that God is building a future where all things are made new.
So right now, your leader is going to grab a Bible, open it up. You guys are going to dig into this a little bit more, and we'll see you next week.